What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to a whole nother episode. Now, as you can probably tell, I'm in the middle of a bathroom, and that's because we're in the middle of a bathroom renovation. And I got a long list of things I gotta get done by the end of the week to finish this bathroom off, and I'm bringing you guys along on the journey. Now, to fill you in a little bit, previously we've gone ahead and replaced the shower bath combo to this cute little package you can see right here. We've also gone ahead and replaced the floor with these pretty little penny tiles. Now the bathroom cabinet and the countertop are existing, they're staying, they're perfectly fine. However, the first thing on my list is to finish off this friggin' wainscoting. Now between me and you, wainscoting really isn't my thing. It just reminds me of my grandma's pantry. However, the client says it's gonna look really nice, and unfortunately for me, I am married to the client, so I'm legally obliged to do so. So for the material of the wainscoting, we're gonna be using this kind of style pattern for the paneling, and then we're gonna have a nice deep trim and some rail that goes on the top. Now there's actual names for these parts. I don't know them right now off the top of my head, but yeah. Now I've already gone ahead and installed this section behind me, as you can see, and that unfortunately was the easy part, and I've come to a point where it gets a little bit more difficult. That's because the corners, the external corners in this bathroom, and most of the corners in the house actually, aren't quite cornering. They all have this freaking round thing, which I don't know why they do it. It makes everything so much more difficult. However, I'm not gonna get round corners with this stuff. It's not gonna work, so I'm just gonna treat it like cabinetry and square it up and then deal with it when I come with this top piece of trim. Now when I said I'm gonna treat it like cabinetry, I meant it in the way that I pre-made these in the shop to go around those corners, these panels. So in theory, these should all just kind of slip in theory. Now to stick the paneling to the walls, I'm using No More Nails, or at least a similar brand to that. Now I like this stuff because it's really thin. It's like a silicone base, and these panels are really thin also, so you don't want to use anything that may have a thick buildup behind it. I'm also brad nailing the panels to the studs to hold it until the glue dries. Okay, so I've got all the paneling on all the way around the room, and next would be to put on the baseboard. However, I can't do the baseboard just yet because I've got a slight issue. Now before I attach all the baseboards to the walls, I gotta put the finished kick back on because the baseboard butts to it. However, when I took the finished kick off, I found this hole right behind it. Now this hole is the heat vent. So the hot air and the cold air, depending on what time of year, comes out of this hole and heats and cools this room. And they went straight over the top of it, which is criminal. But this is the perfect opportunity for me to dig out my CNC. Now, it's not every day I get to use this thing. Actually, quite frankly, I forget I even have it. And every time I do use it, I break it. But fortunately, this is a pretty simple task to cut out. I'm also going to spray the cutout from behind in order to mask the plywood grain that you see in between the little slats. I also cut a second piece out and glued it to the back, so that way, once it's installed, no one's going to put their foot through it. And then once that's all said and done, I can glue it to the original kick using the same glue as I did on the wainscoting. Now that's a nice little detail, which unfortunately is forever going to go unnoticed. Now talking of details, the baseboard in this bathroom is turning out to be an absolute headache, and it's supposed to be the most simple job. It's mostly because we chose this super tall profile baseboard, and each section is either going to butt into a cabinet, go around plumbing, or there's some weird return that it's got to stop onto. Now I got a couple options that I can do here, especially going into the cabinet, and this is the builder grade style where it's just slapped in and it's absolutely awful. I don't recommend doing that. Now option 2 is where it kind of slopes in underneath and you can see the change of the height of the profile, and that looks pretty freaking cool, but I don't think it's the right style for this bathroom. So option 3 is the one that I'm going for, and it's a bit of a steeper angle, but I think it looks pretty damn cool. Now the only difference between these two is the angle of which I cut them. The first one with the longer slope is a 22.5-degree cut on all of the miters, and this one is just a 45, and this is the one that I'm going with, so I'm going to keep that 45-degree miter going all the way around. Let me show you how I mean by that. Now that I figured how to transition into the cabinet, I gotta get around this tail here, which is the plumbing for the toilet. Now I could just cut a random hole. I don't want to do that. So this is what I've come up with. Essentially, it's the same kind of style, 45-degree cuts. You can see where my miters are, but the hole is dead center, and it just looks freaking sweet. Such a better option. I love how this one comes together. Doesn't that look nice? Man. Now this section here is a bit of a weird one because we're gonna come up and around the corner, but I also have to tuck it underneath the cabinet because they didn't allow for a fill when they installed this. There's no filler here, the cabinet butts dead against the wall, which causes lots of issues with the door and stuff like that, so I gotta stay out of the way of the door. Now to overcome that, this is what I've come up with, and I basically miter it down, out, and around. So you can see here when that sits in, it goes around the corner, and it goes under the cabinet like so. This is the one that I'm most proud of. Love it. Now the sections that butt into either side of the bathtubs are kind of tricky. Wasn't too sure what I should do here. I know I wanted to keep it away from the bath, but because we've got the corner and then the little step around the tile, I went back and forth with a couple other things, but my main concern was keeping the wood baseboard away from the bathtub in case any water comes running down. That's just gonna swell up. So what I've come up with is this, where basically it just wraps around all the way around and butts back into the trim just before it meets the tile. There's not much I can really do either side of the bathtub here. I don't really have many options. So I think that's just what it's gonna be. And it doesn't look too bad. Actually, it looks kind of nice, so I'm happy with that. And now that the baseboard is installed, man, that does look nice. I can now go ahead and cut all the miters for the cap rail. Now late last night, my wife decided that she no longer likes the trim that goes around the bathroom window. Apparently it doesn't match all the nice new stuff that's going on in there, so I immediately got out of bed, spent all night making a new one. This one. Now I like to make these out of the window. Personally, I think it's a lot easier. You can make them faster, better quality, and this is perfectly square. It's also a lot easier to install nice and level and plumb after the fact too. And I can get a bit of a head start on the painting as well. Now you'll notice I have all of the parts, all of the trim pieces here in the shop. Now I've spent a lot of time on this and I want to get the perfect finish, and that's obviously going to be a spray finish. However, now painting in this small room will be an absolute disaster. There's too much stuff going on everywhere and I can make really nice stuff and completely destroy it painting it. However, I do want that spray finish. So I got a bit of an idea that might or might not work. Now step one, I'm gonna go ahead and roll all the paneling. Now if I can't spray it, rolling is gonna be the next best thing. Now step two, I can go ahead and spray all of the parts out of the bathroom. Step three, install all of the pieces with a micro pinner. That way if I can't hide any of the pinholes, they're a lot easier to cover up. Now I couldn't find a color match caulking to match the color of the paint that we used for the wainscoting. However, I did find this stuff at my local paint store, and this you can add the actual paint that you used to it. You mix it up and apparently it comes out the exact same color. So you're gonna see how that works. Now in all honesty, this stuff worked great. However, it does come out slightly more wet and liquidy than traditional caulk, so the cleanup is a little bit more difficult. However, that did make it a little bit easier to fill all the little pinholes. Now that is looking pretty freaking sweet, and I'm surprised how much I actually like the look of it. Now I wasn't convinced, but now I am. Wainscoting's pretty cool, which is a good thing, and it's also a bad thing. It means Chelsea was right. Obviously, I'm not gonna let her know that. However, that's done. I'm happy how it looks. we can finally move on with the list. Now next on the list is the tile backsplash, and you probably have already noticed that the tiling is done. Now originally we were going to go all the way up to the ceiling from the countertop, cover the whole wall. However, we really like the color, and that's kind of good because it's way easier for me and I can get it done real quick. Now the tiling is done, next I can go ahead and do the thing that I've been looking forward to the most since I started this renovation. Now behind me here in the floor, you can probably see is a hole. Now that hole is where the toilet goes. And you're probably wondering, why am I so excited to get the toilet in? And it's not because I take huge dumps. Let me show you. Now this room here technically is my office. It's the spare bedroom to which my computer and my desk sits. So yeah, technically it's my office. However, for the past few weeks since we started the bathroom renovation, I have shared this space with a few things that I'm sick and tired of looking at. Now on the other side of the room, and this is why I'm so excited for this, is because there's the friggin' toilet, and that's what I've been looking at for the past few weeks, and I'm just over it. So now you can see why I'm so excited to get the toilet in. Now that I got the can in, because this is a bathroom that's mostly going to be used by a child, I'm going to have to go around and silicone everything. Now unfortunately the previous owner had already tried to give this a go, and I think he opted for his knuckles to clean the silicone up, so I'm going to have to fix those areas too. Now there's so many little gadgets you can buy to help clean up silicone. However, after years and years of cabinetry and kitchen insulation, you cannot beat a spray bottle with soapy water and a clean finger. All that in, pretty much the last thing on my list anyway is to install the mirrors. Now I haven't bought any mirrors. I'm gonna try and recycle the old glass, and I'm gonna try and build my own. So we're gonna see how that goes. I'm building the mirrors myself. I can have a little bit of fun with them, and like any woodworking project that I do, I always draw them up prior in SketchUp so I can get all the exact details. Now what I was thinking was it's a simple wooden frame all the way around, but except for the top rail, which is gonna have a nice little subtle arch to it. Now this could look crap, or it could look really good, I don't know, so we're gonna go find out. Now for the wood on this mirror, I'm gonna be using white oak, which matches a lot of the different things that we've built in this house already. And usually I like to work with rough lumber. This has already been milled up, however, it's not the thickness that I require. So we basically had to mill it up again, which is okay, because it's my favorite part of any project. And the fact that I get to use the CNC twice in one project is crazy. Now usually I use the CNC to cut the template, however this is small enough to cut the actual part. And then while that's cutting, I needed to cut out a rabbet in all the other parts, and this is to accept the thin glass panel. And to join the actual frames together, I'm just gonna cheat. I'm gonna be a big fat cheater and use my domino. Now that looks pretty freaking cute. And I have a nice square section in the back to put a nice square piece of glass in later on. So next I gotta give them both a quick sand, and then I'm gonna stain them to match a few of the other things that have stained in the house to kind of tie them all together. And because they're going in a bathroom, I'm gonna give it a lacquered finish to really seal it up. Man, that really does look freaking sweet. Now to attach the actual frames to the wall when I come to install them, I got this keyhole router bit to go in my 1/4" palm router. I'll link all the little things that I use down below in case you wanted to give this a go on one of your projects. And to keep the glass from falling out of the frame, I'm going to glue it down with some clear silicone. Now the chances of me hanging this mirror and hitting a stud are very slim, so I'm attaching it using drywall anchors, and I'm also putting a thin bead of silicone on the back because these mirrors ain't ever coming down. At least I hope not, else that will be an absolute nightmare. Now that's in, this project is pretty much there. so it's looking pretty freaking sweet in here. Obviously, I gotta get the final approval. I'll take it. Okay, beat it. Now, there's still a few little things I gotta do here, like get the new lights and the new faucets. They're all on order. But I'm thinking I'm done enough, or I'm at a point enough in this project where I can actually move on to the next one. Now, I wanna quickly show you something. So you may have noticed that in this end cabinet, there was a horribly cut out hole in here. Well, that hole has a purpose. Spent a bit of time and I patched it up. And essentially, it's just a laundry chute that goes down into our laundry room. Which, funnily enough, is the next project on my list. Now, if you want to see what we do in this complete disaster of a room, you're gonna have to catch us in the next video. Yep.